harrowing story for you. An Afghan national living in Britain illegally has admitted to raping a 12-year-old girl. Ahmad Mulakhil confessed in Warwick Crown Court that he raped a young child, a little girl, on a summer evening in July. A 12-year-old, barely old enough to navigate the complexities of secondary school, lured away, assaulted in the shadows of Cheverell Street between 8:30 and 9:45 at night. Mulakhil, 23, of no fixed abode, pleaded guilty to one count of oral rape on a child under 13. He still denies the charge of abduction, 3 other rapes and 2 more sexual assaults. Now here's where the real outrage boils over, because this story didn't just break yesterday because the plea did. It erupted months ago, igniting protests in Nuneaton and fury across Warwickshire because the police, yes, Warwickshire police, tried to smother the details under a blanket of national guidance. No mention of ethnicity, no whisper of immigration status, and of course Reform UK's Nigel Farage called it a cover-up. And I think he's right. The police defended it as a policy, but let's just call it what it is. It's a deliberate veil, shielding the system's failures from the disinfectant of accountability. Only after the backlash, after the College of Policing rewrote the rules under pressure from the Home Secretary, did the full, filthy truth trickle out. But even worse yet, protests by real local people, concerned people in Nuneaton and its surrounding areas, was met with a counter-protest. A counter-protest. Stand Up to Racism fanatics, probably bussed in as they usually are, showed up to counter-protest angry local people who were obviously and fairly outraged at the rape of a 12-year-old little girl. Just let that sink in for a second. In fact, you know what? I'll say it again. Stand Up to Racism protesters counter-protested local people who are angry at the rape of a 12-year-old girl. Do I need to say anything about the kind of sick individual you'd have to be to attend that rally? Really? I mean, come on. Mulakhil, who has of course, admitted now to the rape of a 12-year-old, is, well, words I actually can't use to describe him, frankly, because I can't say them out loud on national television. And sadly, as you all know too well at home, this is not an isolated case. A Daily Mail investigation has coughed up some devastating statistics. They claim at least 312 asylum seekers in hotels have been charged with 708 offences over 3 years, including 18 charged with rape, 5 with attempted rape, and 35 with sexual assault. Over 50 of these crimes involves charges where asylum seekers were living in hotels. Several minors involved as well in some cases. And it's not just illegal migrants, is it? 1 in 5 child sex offence convictions involve foreign nationals. Data shared with GB News has revealed this. Despite making up just 11% of the population in England and Wales, foreign nationals were massively overrepresented in data obtained from the Ministry of Justice by Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry through a Freedom of Information request. Now, a 12-year-old girl now is in specialist care. Her life probably destroyed forever, while we foot the bill for custody trials, endless appeals that clog our courts. When is our government going to do something? When are they going to act? Spineless, weak and pathetic excuse of a political class has completely forgotten why government and they exist in the first place: to protect the British public. It is the first law of government. In my opinion, only mass deportations will end this cycle of rape and abuse, because I simply don't think any of them currently have the balls to do that. I think they're going to get to it when it's far too late. And this isn't an isolated case, as I said before. Many of them are still sitting in court, and we will always reveal them here on GB News because we think you deserve to hear the truth. I'll get the thoughts of my panel on this very important topic. Reality TV star AJ Pritchard's here. The editor-at-large at The Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, is joining me. And the journalist and broadcaster, Nina Mishkov, is also here to talk about this. Charlotte, I'll start with you. I think the problem, the really thing that enraged me reading this story, of course, I'm becoming desensitised to hearing these headlines, unfortunately. I really am. And many people at home are too. It's harrowing. But when I see that people go and counter-protest this, that really is what gets me, Charlotte, because I think we can all be outraged at these things. And, of course, we've got the rape gang epidemic in the UK we've still yet to tackle. But we see people counter-protesting stuff like this. It drives me mad.
It drives me... It's so shameless. It drives me mad as well. The idea that they can compartmentalise the fact that there's a 12-year-old girl, and this is what I found in a few conversations I've had with, I suppose I'd say lefties, really, recently, is they can compartmentalise the sexual abuse stuff, and they're entirely obsessed and focused on migrants and the, you know, demonising the right wing because they're anti-migrant, but that's not the case. It's just sensible to acknowledge that child safety is being put before political sensitivity. It's just, it blows my mind how they were able to just kind of put the 12-year-old girl thing to one side and attend that counter-protest. Yeah,
it's really shocking to me that people, that's not the first thing that runs through their head. There's a little girl here, and actually people will be outraged, and local people will, of course, want to protest this. We've seen this time and time again, AJ. The Bell Hotel in Epping, where, of course, there's lots of allegations of people being bussed in. We've seen them all leave at a train station afterwards, some cases. These stand-up to racism protesters and other groups, of course, not just that group. What do you think is causing this backlash to local people who are just, I think, fairly protesting what would be a harrowing case in any local community?
I think when you see the local people, and it is families, especially this protest we saw here, it's upsetting to see the counter-protest on one part, but as you said, it's kind of like how a family of the community has been ripped apart here in this brutal attack on their freedom. It feels like you should be able to walk out on your street, should be able to feel safe, and I feel like that's the one thing that's really upsetting. It's this fear, this kind of, each day it seems to be getting worse and worse, and I think when it comes down to Nuneaton and Warwickshire and this national guidance, I don't know how the police themselves have allowed themselves, if I know they're being paid to do a job and stay there, but actually not releasing the information is what has caused this to just bubble up until it becomes a powder cake. Yeah,
we have contacted Warwickshire Police, of course, about this topic, but they haven't got back to us yet. We will bring that to the audience, of course, as and when we get it. Nina, a part of what we were talking about there with AJ is that the police don't release this information. And, of course, many people will call that a cover-up. And why this is so triggering to many people is that we've seen the Pakistani rape gang cover-up in this country, which is a massive, massive, massive national scandal that's been going on for 30-plus years now. People are worried that the government are proactively, and authorities are proactively trying to censor the amount of information they receive. Do you think the police should have released that information a bit earlier to at least have given people the information they deserve?
Firstly, before I answer that, I want to say how dreadful that attack on that young girl is.
Indeed,
it will have blighted her life.
Yes.
And as you say, torn apart her family. And there is just no justification for anybody trying to say anything other than that. That is just appalling. But I think you have to understand that the guidance that's been given in the past to all police forces, as far as I understand it, is not to give information, is not to give details. And it took advice from the Home Secretary before the police were actually allowed to. So can you really blame the police? Because they are following the guidelines that they've been giving. They are not political, so they can't make political decisions. And I think when they were told they had to, that they did it. I mean, I am not here to defend the police. There's many things wrong with many police forces, all the police forces in this country. But as far as I understand it, that would be the reason.
We have seen other cases, of course, where the police have been quick to name the ethnicity, particularly where it's white British people involved. And we saw, the
last year, that's the Liverpool thing.
Yeah, we saw the man in Liverpool. We've, of course, recently seen the stabbings in Huntingdon in Cambridge, where they're able to name at least 2 suspects at the time of their ethnicity as well. And I think this is where people get very, very upset about it, Charlotte, because, of course, for many people, they just want to have the information so they can make their minds about it and then compartmentalise and deal with that. But what I worry about is that we box everything up, and then we can't talk about it because we start speculating, and that actually is more dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ordinary communities are carrying the risk here, so they have every right to know. They need to know what's going on, especially. I have to say, I've been to Nuneaton, and actually, when I was 12, I moved to that area very briefly, and it was really sweet. I was allowed to walk around. I went to the local shopping centre. The idea that there are mums out there who can't let their 12-year-old girls go out, and they need the information, otherwise they can't protect their children. I mean, it's such basic stuff. I've got 2 girls. I would never ever allow this to happen to one of my girls. I just couldn't bear it, and I just need information. I'm a mum. I need information. What do I need to be wary of? Now, you can't take that away from parents in this country.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And AJ, again, I think that, again, the government here is behind the times. And I'm not just talking about the Labour government here. I put this on the Tories as well. And parties of all colours have, unfortunately, failed the British public, failed to listen, failed to act. The fact that what outrages people, I think, and I'm sure my viewers will hold me accountable if I'm wrong about this, but what outrages me the most is that there are people in this country that shouldn't be here, that have come into the country illegally, and it's not necessarily about their ethnicity or their race, it's the fact they shouldn't be here in the first place. And we have a problem in this country with rape and sexual assault, and we should be dealing with it. They are people that are in this country that are our problem, white British people included, right? We should be allowed to say that, and we can say that. But when it comes to illegal migrants, people are just fed up that these people are here in the first place, and if they weren't here, they would be committing the crime.
I think you kind of see this a lot on social media, and maybe not so much on mainstream media, is it seems to be a joke. It seems to be like, if there's a sexual assault, if someone was to slap someone's ass, on that's a crime, it's a sexual crime, but it seems to be a joke to these illegal immigrants on a certain minority. I'm not saying this to everybody. I don't want to quote that as some people are here for the right reasons and some are here for the wrong reasons. But when you see it done in this kind of manner, it's so much more upsetting. And coming back to the case in hand, it's horrific. It is 100% so upsetting.
The thing is, they've only started releasing ethnicity of alleged perpetrators since Southport, since they realised what happened with Southport, because they gave no information, and then social media exacerbated the whole situation. And I think that's the problem. You mentioned social media. Social media has a lot to answer for, really. I mean, and you also mentioned we have our own problems here. There are 500,000 children, they estimate, in this country who are sexually abused every year in the home. Yes. In the home, by people they know. Yes. And the trouble is, this case is dreadful, and there are other dreadful cases. But by concentrating on these individual cases, what we are not dealing with and attacking is the bigger problem, quite frankly, of the number of rapes in this country, full stop, the fact that fewer than 4% of them are ever charged, or indeed come to court. But the thing is, we're not. But the thing is, because we concentrate on that, we don't. And the incidence of rape and sexual assault is increasing at the moment.
It is indeed. I think
we should be talking about that.
Well, I think we should. But the problem,
statistically, it's upsetting. Like seeing obviously. In 2024, it was like 22% sexual assaults of foreign nationals. That's an increase of 62% from 2021. Like it's where it's going. I think it's upsetting.
But that, as I say, is as a smaller problem to the larger problem we have domestically.
Right, but Nina, my point I was going to make is this, is that for a long time, and we saw this with the rape gangs, it was covered up. We even have an example of someone's ethnicity being Tipp-Ex'd out because the police didn't want to be accused of racism.
Quite dreadful.
This is insane situation.
But we don't. Hopefully, we don't have that anymore.
Why do you think stand up to racism people counter-protesting these cases? Why do they go out and do that?
I can only imagine that they are protesting against the fact that the contents or the people who are living in the hotels are all being tarred with the same brush, and they can't be, and they shouldn't be, because these are specific examples of individuals who, whatever nationality they were, whatever country they were living in, would be criminals, would be vile perpetrators of sexual abuse. So you have to remember. But I just want to point out to you that 2/5 of the people who were arrested during the Southport riots, protecting their women and children, quite rightly, protesting against our girls came, they had 2/5 of them had been already charged with domestic abuse.
Sure, I'm not defending those people.
No, but that's complete hypocrisy. Because you're saying my girls, my daughters, my blah blah blah, and yet get them back home and they're beating them up.
Well, yeah, I'll give you the final word on this, Charlotte. Again, I think the British public are really very, very frustrated about this. Shabana Mahmood's made comments saying that we're becoming more racist as a result of illegal migration. I think she has got a bit of a point about that, by the way. I think that the failure to deal with this issue is going to make people point at the ethnicity of these men who are mostly coming from countries that are culturally dissimilar to us. I do think there's an issue there. What do you think we need to do now?
I actually think the issue there, I think Mahmood's right, but I think it's a systemic issue that starts from the top, because they never explain placement decisions, and people are losing faith in the system. There's not enough clarity. So then people, they don't know where to turn, they're confused, they're angry, and they do blame the ethnicity. But it's not people's fault. You know, you can't just look at people and brand them all extremist. It's actually the system, the political system is creating this confusion because they're deliberately being obtuse.
Yes, and on the point of them not being told where hotels are, where bases are, we've even seen political leaders from the Green Party, when the deputy leader was outraged that there was a migrant camp going to be in their back garden. But this is the problem, isn't it? There's no consistency, there's no accountability, and I think the government really needs to get a grip. Otherwise, this is going to spiral even further out of control, and we don't want to see any more little girls have their lives ruined by people who shouldn't be in this country. Frankly, end of. Anyway.